Welcome back to another Value Vintage Cards video. So this one is going to be another of the 4 Cool Cards series. What I wanted to focus on in this video was basically just really kind of scarce cards, but more specifically of pitchers. And then I wanted to do something that would kind of scan some different eras. So it's going to be a little bit of kind of a multi-generational elite pitcher showcase, but again, limiting it to just 4 cards. So all pitchers, all pretty gosh darn scarce, and in my eyes, all really cool cards. So let me get back to the cards here, and we'll take a look and see what I picked for this one. All right, friends, I'm going to jump in from the most recent to oldest. These are all I would say, they're 3-figure value cards, I would assume, unless you really find a deal. But I would say they're 3-figure, definitely not 4-figure kind of cards. So they're pricey, but not outrageous. And really a lot of that is not only due to who's on the item. This is obviously 4 of my favorite pitchers, but also the scarcity of the sets. So the most recent would be the 1972 Puerto Rican League sticker, Satchel Page. So I've seen these in higher grades. Again, stickers, hand-cut things, I don't really worry too much about the grades anyway. It's got a big old crease, which almost just extends his mustache to the end of the card, unfortunately. I had considered the possibility of an upgrade, but they're so tough, and with a million other cards that I'd like to add, upgrading just isn't real high on my list. So printed in Spain, so if anybody can translate what that says for me, I would appreciate that. But Puerto Rican League Satchel Page, I just thought the image was super cool. The colors, everything about that, and Satchel Page is such a tough player to collect anyway, because you're talking Leaf, Bowman, Topps, just really expensive items for the most part. So that might be one of the better value, that and maybe the exhibits would be kind of your value options to pick up a satchel. Obviously way post playing days, although for him, I don't know if his playing days ended until he probably couldn't walk. It felt like he was able to pitch into his 60s probably. So that's not a real-time image by any means, but pretty cool pickup. So definitely recommend put that on your list if you're looking for a Satchel Page item that might be a nice complement to the few other things he has available. Also, for reference sake, between PSA and SGC, there's been 70 graded. So with those two being the 2 biggest, there's obviously ungradeds out there, but if you're talking about populations, there's probably not a couple hundred of them around. So 100 and something is maybe my guesstimate expectation, but always tough to know. So next one. That's like my, if you look at these grades, my grades always kind of hover in that range. These are tough because of the black borders. So you end up with some really tough options. It's a little snowy, which actually for a 1950s TV is kind of appropriate. Kids these days don't understand that. Either you got reception or you don't. We had snowy TV back in the day. But that's a 1950s issue of Warren Spahn, Drake's Cookies. Pretty clean. And 2.5 for me is always, I would say it's kind of like my ideal grade. It's a little snowy, and the corners are slightly soft, but the borders are really nice, and there's not a lot of creasing. So I guess given all the factors that it could be, I think that one almost looks worse in video than it does me just staring at it from behind the camera right now. So I like it. Really cool image of Spawn. And Drake's is one of those kind of unique little issues that I feel like once people find out about it, they absolutely love that. PSA SGC combined has graded 53 of those. So again, Spawn's not the biggest name in the set, but he's definitely a bigger name in the set. So I'm going to say, there's 100 Drake's cards out there, maybe a couple hundred at most, but not thousands. So pretty tough card. Those black borders make it really tough to find in a great condition as well. So 70s and 50s, we keep getting older, we keep getting scarcer and tougher. So 1930 post-serial. I absolutely love this card. Christy Matthews, greatest of all baseball pitchers. 1930 post-serial Christy Matthews, famous North Americans, hand cut. So SGC did some weird stuff. They kind of label that in multiple different ways. Back of mine is completely goobered up, so it's probably on an album or something at some point, but such a cool image. Even the background, when you really look at this thing for a minute, use of colors, the black and white kind of sketch, the shadowing, his hat kind of always seems to be in that almost just casual, cool position. I don't think I could pull that off, but Mathewson always did, so more power to him for sure. But that issue is one you don't see come up a whole lot. I don't know if I even knew it existed really till I started. Maybe I saw like a higher grade one go, and I was like, dang, that's cool. So I put it on the search list, and also this came up, and that actually did sneak through much lower than I expected. So I feel like we don't always, sometimes we celebrate the wins, but I feel like we always feel the sting when we know we paid maybe a touch more than we should have. At least that's for me. I always feel that sting when I'm like, I think I overpaid for that thing, or it's, it's going down, or I see it selling now for less and a better grade. But that is one that I need to remember and celebrate, because I know I got a pretty fair deal on that. It is graded a 1, so it's not authentic. It's actually got a number on it. But the total population of that for PSA SGC in terms of how tough is it, it's 38. So for me mentally, I always look and see, if there's less than 100, I consider that to be, it's kind of my definition of rare, I guess. Assuming it's a card that would be graded. And I definitely have quite a few cards that are not, for various reasons. So it's not always the safest standard, but for me, under 100 means it's pretty darn rare. Under 50, I always figure if there's one less per, one per state, that means it's not a lot of them floating around there. And if you see one, you should probably just grab it, because you're not going to have a whole lot of opportunities at it. And then the last card in the row there is a recent one. I actually saw another big-time collector talking about this one. And I was fortunate I didn't see their comments on YouTube until after the fact. So I don't want to misquote. I know it was an interview on a different channel, so I don't want to misquote the intent. I don't know if they actually did bid on it or were just watching it for the heck of it. But me being a Mordecai Brown collector, he's probably in my top 2 or 3 people I collect for sure. So when I see something like this come up, sorry for the arm, 1912 W, as John Mangini tells me, it's uncatalogued. Although I kept seeing on Net54 people saying it's unclassified. So I have a tendency to default and say unclassified, but uncatalogued is probably the appropriate term. If the president says it's right, it's right. But the 1912 W Unk strip card, these are really scarce. Wish my camera would get a little better focus for y'all. You can see his hand. So they try and really do a nice job of that image. Look how small that thing is, though. That is a very tiny item. Back is blank. Back has a little bit of something. I think it's partially missing. I'm honestly surprised this is 1 and not just authentic, altered, or something. So, again, don't care, but interesting. One of the questions I had, if anybody knows, it's Mordecai Brown. He has a P, I think, on his shirt, his jersey. What the heck's that? In that era, he was not playing for a team with a P. I can't quite figure out the what and why of that. I should put him front and center here. That particular card I would like to get more history on that. I do not know enough about that, and I would be really curious to learn more. Tough to find information. Obviously, if it's an uncatalogued kind of card, you're not talking about something that's got a whole lot of information. PSA, I think, is graded 2, and SGC is like 5. So there aren't many. 7 graded could mean there's 7 that exist. I don't know if people have a whole bunch of these sitting around ungraded. Maybe, but if so, I'd be interested. That would be really fascinating to learn more. But I have no idea a whole lot of details on that card, except that it's a extremely tough Mordecai Brown, and it's in my collection, and I absolutely am thrilled that I was able to add that. So wanted to just kind of share a little bit of a thematic run through. So it's 4, not even 4 decades. It's really covering, what, 8 decades of sorts, 7 decades. So pretty good run, but 4 Hall of Fame pitchers with some pretty tough to collect cards that still, at the end of the day, won't break the bank if you want to add these kind of things to your collection. So absolutely love these 4 cards and wanted to share. I'll see y'all on the next one.